Hi, team. Welcome to 10 Talks. Today's conversation is all about you winning your well being, and we're going to do that with lifestyle medicine. Love bringing in Dr. Hunter to really share with us what is it, how do we use it, and most importantly, how's it going to help us win our well being? So, thank you, Dr. Hunter, for being here. Love just to hear a bit from you about your why. Why are you passionate about lifestyle medicine?
Well, thank you, Carlette. I really love lifestyle medicine because it helps me feel like I'm making a huge difference in my patients' lives. Lifestyle medicine is very different from my traditional role in internal medicine. I tell people all the time that I'm here as their health coach and I'm going to help walk them through behavioral changes. And I really want them to not think of the changes we make as a temporary fix, but really as new habits they're going to carry forward for a lifetime of health.
And I so appreciate that you are a doctor and that you have invested in being a doctor and that you've added this as just really that next step that really is so important to you. Share a bit about your journey from how did you go? I know you're doing the combination, but just a bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I'm an internal medicine physician. I've been doing that for 15 years now. Kind of like, where did that time go? But in 2019, I heard about lifestyle medicine and I didn't know what it was, but I was so inspired by getting to hear a lifestyle medicine physician speak that I was automatically interested and was able to get my board certification in 2020. And it has changed my joy in medicine. So I feel like I love being a doctor again because I get to help people on an individual and on a group basis sometimes really make lifestyle changes that are going to improve their health for a lifetime because chronic disease in this country is not getting any better. And lifestyle medicine is an evidence based specialty. So we know that from the evidence, when people can implement these healthy lifestyle changes, not only can we prevent chronic disease, but we can treat and reverse chronic disease. It gives us huge power.
Well, that's what we want, team, right? We want to be able to be empowered and win our well being. So let's talk about lifestyle medicine and most importantly, how we're going to win our well being. So we're getting a lot of information, team. We're starting to really learn how to win our well-being cue. And so our next one is all about new cue. It's about change. It's about taking this information. What do you want to do with this new information and implement it into your life? So that takes some change. It takes some change management. It takes some rituals and routines. It takes some investment on your part. And so let's talk about the things that we want to start to change.
So when we talk about self care, sleep is a big priority for me. Um, in lifestyle medicine, we recommend 7 to 9 hours of healthy sleep a night. And one of the new ideas that when I went through this training was that sleep is not just those 7 to 9 hours at night that we're trying to get healthy sleep. It's a 24-hour cycle. And you can see our circadian rhythm set up here. Everything we do on the way to sleep and during the night and in the morning make up for either good or bad sleep that next day. So, really, the choices we make, whether or not we exercise, if we drink alcohol or not, how hydrated we are, if we spend time outside in the sun, those all add up to healthy sleep at night. So, that was a big shift for me to start thinking about it's really my choices throughout the day that add up to good sleep. And, we evolved as a species that, was awake and alert when the sun is highest in the sky and slept when it was dark outside. And our brains and our physiology have not caught up with the fact that with the flip of a switch, it can be bright outside or in your environment 24 hours a day. And this leads to actually a lot of chronic disease in our country. Um, so it's so important for us to think about what tools can we use to really prioritize healthy sleep. And I work with a lot of patients on their sleep hygiene. So these might be some new skills that we need to incorporate to really think about getting the best sleep that we can at night. And it's about being on a routine, right? Having a practice of going to bed at a consistent time, getting up at a consistent time so that your brain knows the plan, right? Our brain is built for habit. Our brain is built for predictability. So again, that 24-hour cycle, um, if you're changing the time every day that you go to bed, your brain has a really hard time of knowing when you're going to be ready for sleep. Um, Not spending time in your bed or your bedroom unless you're going in there to sleep is also hugely important because if you spend a lot of time sitting in your bed on your computer and working, your brain thinks what you do in your bed is sit on your computer and work, not have healthy sleep. So really optimizing the environment and kind of staying out of that environment when you're not focused on sleep. And, when I think of the biggest violators of sleep hygiene and what gets in the way of healthy sleep, these are the three places that I work with people on so much. And the screens are the biggest problem that I see. So a lot of people watch TV before bed or are on their phone in bed. Watching TV in bed is probably the worst thing you can do. And one of the reasons, and I like to explain the science to people, is that, again, our brain, um, when we see the blue light from these screens, whether it's an iPad or a television screen or a computer or phone, that light goes straight to our brain through our eye and says, "Hey, the sun is up. Don't make melatonin. We need to be alert." So it's really hard for your body to enter this very complex physiology that happens to help us go to sleep when we're constantly stimulating that response. So for most people, what I recommend is avoiding screens for 30 minutes before bed. And the nice thing is you've just given yourself a gift of 30 minutes, and now you get to create a healthy bedtime routine. So this could be a time that you employ some of our skills with a gratitude journal, with some meditation, reading a book, or listening to quiet music. But again, your brain is, we're creating the ritual of we're getting ready for sleep. So your brain knows what's coming. And alcohol will expound on in a minute as well. But most people think, oh, I'm going to drink some wine with dinner, or I've had a stressful day. It's going to help me relax. Well, it might do that, but what alcohol does is interrupt our late night sleep. So our REM sleep, which is so important, really for rest and recovery. It's where we dream. It's where we kind of process the day. And if you drink alcohol, it interrupts your REM sleep. So you may notice that you wake up between 1 and 3 a.m., or maybe you wake up at 4 and can't go back to sleep, and that could be the alcohol contributing. So just to be mindful of that, at least 3 hours between alcohol and bedtime. That's about how long it takes our bodies to deactivate it. And then I spoke to this a little bit, but if you wake up in the middle of the night, or if you're laying in bed trying to fall asleep and you're not falling asleep, you're creating a habit for your brain of what I do between 1 and 3 a.m. is lay awake in bed. So getting out of bed trains your brain that what I do in bed is sleep. And so this is one of our biggest interventions to help with or trying to fall asleep or middle of the night awakenings. But it's not an excuse to start your day. It's not an excuse to go fold the laundry or check your email. You're getting out of bed with the goal of going back to sleep. So we're going to keep it dim. We're not going to flip on all the overhead lights. We might get a paperback book, and with a little overhead with a small light, read a book, put on some music, do some deep breathing. When you start to feel sleepy, then you go back to bed. You're reinforcing that habit to your brain of, I'm here to sleep.
Well, Dr. Hunter, what is so valuable about this? I love the ritual and routine of it. And also, we know in sports that the number one indicator for high performance is sleep. And that is something we have total control over. We think we need to do all of these things in sport to get that competitive advantage. And here it is for us to really be our best, to champion every day. It starts with sleep. And the new thinking is sleep is actually anchored in 24 hours a day of choices that sets me up to really be able to achieve that great night's sleep.
Yeah. And one of those things is being physically active as well. There's this whole, it's not even a theory, it's proven in sleep medicine. It's the idea of sleep drive, that you have to be sleepy enough to go to sleep. So we all know that we wouldn't put gas in our car's full gas tank, and sleep is the same way. So we actually have to burn some energy to stimulate healthy sleep. And if you can do it outside and in the sunshine, like in the late afternoon, even better. You double up on the effects there.
That's interesting because a lot of people talk about that they can't exercise in the afternoon because it keeps them awake. So, what's the theory on that?
So really exercise any time of the day is fine. If you notice that about yourself, then shift it to the morning, right? We're all individuals, but you should be able to be lightly active or moderately active even up until about an hour before bedtime. But strenuous activity late in the evening can kind of, it increases your core body temperature, which has to fall for healthy sleep to be initiated. So that's one thing to avoid. But really, going on a walk after dinner, that shouldn't really jazz you up enough that you won't be able to fall asleep a couple hours later.
Love it.
But if you're an intense athlete though, and you're going to the gym and working out really hard earlier in the day, probably better for that. And, we do know that if you don't have healthy sleep, it's really hard to make healthier choices throughout the day, right? When you've had pulled an all-nighter in college or something like that, or, you get up, you're not going to feel like exercising, you're going to skip your self-care routine, you're going to grab for the comfort food instead of the healthier choice because you're already low. So, this is one place that I invest in myself. It's number one for my self-care to get healthy sleep every night.
Such a valuable currency to invest.
Pays you back in dividends for sure.
Yes. So as we're learning all these new skills, thinking about things differently, inserting all this fabulous information, we know what's important is we have to pick and choose what are we going to do from a well-being cue, how am I going to win this, and also from a new cue, what's new information that is worthy of me actually implementing that change model and doing the rituals and routines that it takes. And this is all about what we drink, and we can talk about hydration and the value of water. And then we've got these fun things that we add into it. I know that, that red liquid right there in the middle is one of my winning strategies. So tell us some new thinking about alcohol.
Yeah, so Carla, it's so interesting to me learning in lifestyle medicine that we know pretty well in medicine that there's an unhealthy level of alcohol consumption. And the new thinking is there may not be a healthy level of alcohol consumption. So one thing I like to start with is level setting. What is an alcoholic drink? So um, our standard drink equations are here. So 12 ounces of regular beer, that's probably a Bud Light. If you look at the alcohol percentage, about 5% alcohol. Um, Malt liquor, we would just call that an IPA in the Pacific Northwest, 7% alcohol. There's, some beers that you can buy 19 or more, right? So, and it's not served in a 12-ounce glass. That's the other thing. So when you're in the pub having your IPA, you're already at 1.5 standard drinks, something to think about, right? Um, I have wine glasses at home that can hold 750 milliliters of wine or a whole bottle. So my glass is a little different than this 5-ounce glass of table wine. And then with a mixed drink, you're going to get about 1.5 ounces or one shot of alcohol. So really just thinking, where am I starting from? Let's be realistic about how much alcohol we're actually getting per serving. And this is the guideline we have that we know more than 7 drinks a week for women and more than 14 drinks a week for men is an unhealthy level of alcohol consumption. It leads to health consequences long term, as well as a higher risk for alcohol dependence and misuse. And again, there are many studies that have been done that show alcohol is good for your heart or has all these other health benefits. And most of those were actually done by the alcohol industry or sponsored by the alcohol industry. So, there's bias within our studies sometimes. Um, and so really thinking about how can we use alcohol in moderation. Both the American Heart Association and the World Heart Federation, we're talking about feeding our heart, came out in the last 2 years with position statements around alcohol use, really recommending if you don't drink, please don't start thinking you're doing something good for your heart. And actually, the World Heart Federation, if you have any level of cardiovascular disease where it's high blood pressure or an irregular heart rhythm, please do not drink at all because we know the impacts on our heart is actually pretty significant from alcohol. And women, 7 drinks, we get half what men get. It's because we have half of the amount of enzyme in our stomach that digests alcohol. So one drink for a woman is equal to two drinks for a man, so of the impact that it has on our bodies.
So Dr. Hunter, that is very interesting. I was wondering why the men get double what we get. And I was thinking it had to do with weight or, body mass or something from that perspective. So interesting that that's not it at all. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the enzyme that's in our stomach that breaks down alcohol is called alcohol dehydrogenase. And women just have about half the amount in our stomach than men do. So I also used to think 7 drinks a week was a very unfair number, and why would men get more? And when we're talking about rituals and habits, a lot of times what we drink, if I used to come home and need my glass of wine to de-stress in the night. And when I started cutting alcohol out during various wellness programs, I actually realized it was just a habit, because when I didn't drink for 10 days at a time or 2 weeks at a time, I broke that nightly ritual, and I just didn't need it anymore. So it was kind of surprising to me that, oh yeah, this is just something that I'm doing out of habit, out of ritual. And the health piece I like to talk about for women too, that is not really well publicized, is that 3 or more drinks a week for women actually increases our breast cancer risk by 15%. And we're all always wanting to do, what can we do to protect our health? That's a pretty impactful one that is really not talked about when we talk about alcohol. So I like to share that as well.
Well, and thank you for just the awareness of being intentional when we do choose to have a drink. Know that enjoy every bit of it. And so much about what our well being is all about is what we emotionally need as well as what we physically need. And you said it beautifully about that being a ritual and routine, about coming home and having a drink. And now just the awareness to be able to say, what exactly does that drink represent to me? Does it represent that the day is over? Does it represent sitting with my partner and having a great conversation? What exactly does having a drink represent? And how can I insert something new, really raising that well-being, that new cue? How can I get smarter about, I want to have a relationship with my partner. I love that we pop a bottle of wine every night and drink and talk about our day. How about if we go for a walk and we still get that relationship connection? So for a lot of people, alcohol means celebration. Alcohol can mean that it's party time. Alcohol can mean that it's the weekend. Just be aware of, what exactly does this represent for me, and how can I insert joy and celebration and connection in a way that doesn't necessarily have to do with alcohol.
Right. It's that awareness again, right? And also being aware of your triggers. If you have a really stressful day, a really long meeting that you're not going to enjoy, you're probably anticipating enjoying that drink. And you can also think of, what can I substitute instead? I like the idea of, can I take a walk and still have that conversation time? But, could you have a cup of tea, something that you can enjoy, you can smell, it can have its own little ritual, or a mocktail, some soda water with some flavoring. You could even drink it out of a wine glass or a champagne glass and still feel like you're celebrating without having to have the alcohol.
Well, I actually had a great weekend with one of my dear friends, and I noticed that part of what I loved was these beautiful wine glasses when we went to these great restaurants. And I just ordered myself some great wine glasses, and I'm like, I'm going to start having my smoothies. I'm going to start having everything out of these wine glasses, because the beauty of a wine glass, I love how pretty things are. And just the beauty of the wine glass, before they even poured my wine, I was happy as soon as I saw this beautiful glass. So I was like, that's some new thinking. I'm just going to order myself a wine glass. I'm going to pour all my drinks into it throughout the day and just enjoy the celebration of what makes me happy. It's not necessarily just the red liquid that's getting poured in there, that it certainly is the whole experience of something pretty, and not just cramming down a smoothie, and kind of being much more intentional about how I'm investing in my self-care, or what I'm eating and what I'm drinking. All right, I'm loving our conversation of learning so much about rituals and routines and how to implement these things, what to practice. I want to talk about our next well-being cue, which is all about love cue. And when we talk about love cue, how we can raise our love intelligence, so many times we think about that romantic love. And as we're learning with lifestyle medicine and well-being, it's so much about loving ourselves, being respectful for ourselves, being for us. And who are we connecting to? What are our relationships all about? Are they anchored in love, an agape love, a love that is really for us and out of curiosity, getting to know each other, connecting with each other? So tell us about just the power of connection.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us have to look that far back to remember in the pandemic when we were locked down and we couldn't see the people that we loved, and um, the toll that social isolation has had on the mental health and health of so many people in our country and around the world just in the last few years. So it's really brought that home for me, especially, and how that shows up in my patients and clients. And there's a lot of data around the importance of social connection. And this slide just tells you some of the benefits, but people live longer who have good support networks and social connection. Your immune system works better. You have less depression and anxiety. You actually feel better about yourself when you are surrounded by people who love and support you. And you're better at noticing those triggers and identifying those stressors and speaking your emotions when you have healthy connections. It's very important. And this slide is a revised pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is in psychology really how do we not only survive, but grow and become into a thriving state. And you can see the very basis, we all need air, food, and water and shelter. But right after that and safety is belongingness and love. And then esteem. So myself and how I feel about myself and what I can do in the world. And anything below this line is a deficient state. You're in survival mode or less than survival mode if you don't have these things met. And you can't get to growth and thriving without having these needs met. So with belongingness and love being number 3 on the pyramid, that really speaks to me of how important this is. I mean, we are social creatures. We evolved to live in tribes and in small, close-knit groups. And this having a close relationship with another person is bonding. It's so important. It releases hormones in our bodies that do great things for us. And we really can't have all these things we want to have as far as a growth mindset and a career path and teaching others and giving back without having the base met as well.
So as we look at this is fascinating to really think about the pyramid of success in our lives and what we need. Take us through each one and just a bit about why it's so valuable and why it's so important for our well-being.
Yeah, so when you think about really being set up for success, it does start with, we have to have our basic needs met. You can't move past shelter, food, and water, right? What we all need to go on day to day. And then we also need to be in a society where we're safe to go outside, to interact with other people in a healthy and safe way. And, then when you have those two things met, then you can have success in your family and your relationships. And so, I mean, you can even think about places in this country and in the world right now, especially where people are not even getting their biologic and safety needs met, right? So again, this is the base and this is just for survival. So as we are able to be really blessed enough to have these needs met, then we can have the ability to move up the pyramid and to come out of survival state into this place where we can work on moving ourselves up the ladder. We can learn new things. We can find meaning and self-awareness. We can appreciate beauty and create and then also come to a place where we've done enough work that we can really be in the growth mindset and continue to self-improvement, and then teaching that to others as well. So finding really our mission, values, vision, and passion, I mean, that's really high up the pyramid. How many people live down here and don't have the opportunity for whatever reason, or don't seek it out to move up the ladder, right? So I think it's so important to have our love needs met, right? To have someone you can trust. We call them sometimes charismatic adults. So this is for children, that they have an adult that they can go to if they need something, who's going to tell them a joke, inspire them. And adults need those too, right? We all think about our positive role models. We all need charismatic adults in our lives. That could be a healthy relationship to work on. And in medicine, a lot of times clinicians are that for our patients too. But we need this belonging and love and support so that we can come out of survival and get into growth and then thriving.
Beautiful.
So, we think about connecting with other people as certainly an important connection, but this is actually 12 different domains that you can connect in to build uh, that base of belongingness and love needs and have them met. So animals, we know, are just so important in our lives so often. And again, we've been talking about this the whole time, but number 12 is yourself, right? And maybe this one should move up front, but the relationship with ourselves, within our communities, with friends and family, with the past, right? We can learn so much from our families of origin and things that have happened before, from nature. So these are all places and things that you can build healthy relationships with as well. So this was an interesting idea that came to me through my training.
So let's just talk about each one just so that we understand. We've got the family of origin, we've got our immediate family, we've got our friends, community, work, mission, activities, beauty, the past, nature, animals, ideas and information, institutions, organizations, whatever is beyond knowledge, and yourself. I mean, what a great list to be able to really explore each one of these. And you could stat it up on a scale of 1 to 10. How does my family of origin really satisfy my love cue? Does it feel like it's really healthy? Does it feel like it's missing? Again, back to that heart. So how connected is my heart to what really matters? So just another great new skill here to be able to actually look at it and have a checklist about it and explore how am I doing on my love cue.
Mhm. Yeah, and if work is not hitting a 10 for you, what does that mean? Do you get to make a choice about learning a new skill and maybe making a change, right? Or if you know that being in nature helps you be more connected with the people around you and helps you be in a less stressed place, that's something to move it up the list. So I do really like this list as a place to go and learn from. So this idea, and again, it gets back to our heart and the health of our heart, is that there are qualities that define healthy relationships, and there are also unhealthy relationships. And when we talk about, what we put in our body and what we do with our body, making sure that the relationships that we have really are healthy and support us. So, a blood vessel brings oxygen and nutrients to the tissues that it's connecting to. And that is what a healthy relationship should be. There should be a cross flow of information. There should be support. There should be flexibility and adaptability. A healthy blood vessel can dilate and constrict when needed. Um, and so sometimes in a relationship, you might need support. And you also, in a healthy relationship, the other person knows that you're available for them when they need it too. And so thinking about really something that I call your heart tribe, and I guess our heart is really a great theme for today, um, but choosing and investing in relationships that help you feel your best, and that we do get the choice of what relationships we're going to invest in. I mean, we probably all know or dread going to see maybe a certain family member or a friend that when you leave, you're a little depleted because they needed more from you than you got back, and sometimes it's really one-sided. So you have permission to limit your time with people who do not fill you up, and it again, it's taking care of your heart first, that you can choose to participate or not participate in toxic relationships. And you can choose to really lean in and invest in and build those healthy relationships where you're also receiving that vital nutrients from the relationship. And how we talk to ourselves matters too, right? When we are talking about the relationship with ourselves being the most important, is, something that I always think of is, would you talk to your best friend that way? Is this something you would tell to your mom or someone you love, right? Like, no, but why do we say it to ourselves, right? Like, we've got to have this healthy connection of vital nutrients in our self-talk as well. And sometimes that can really help us and motivate us to make changes if we switch the way we think about it. If we start thinking about ourselves as worthy of time and love and investment, then we start showing up differently for ourselves as well.
Well, there's no better way to raise our love cue than to really think about our heart, both physically and just from a soul or a feeling perspective. Is on a scale of 1 to 10, what am I feeling after I've been with certain people? Am I feeling depleted, and have they been an energy vampire? Do I feel like, a 1 after leaving them? And what about me? What am am I making somebody feel like a 10, or am I making them feel like a 1? So just that true awareness, again, as we think about really winning our well-being and why this is so important for our whole body, our whole person, is that, boy, not only is our heart physically taking care of us, but it is our heart tribe. I love that. And also finding our heart code. That is really the code that unlocks our passion and our desires, and really finding our why, and finding our why with all the people that we're in relationship with. We're in relationship for a reason, whether it's people that we work with, people that we do a project in our community with, our family that we were born into, the family that we put together for our community and our friends. And then we have that relationship with ourselves. And is my heart pumping in a positive way because of who I'm hanging out with, the choices I'm making? Or am I getting stressed out or depressed or really shutting myself down? So, team, it's up to you. You really have the opportunity to be able to raise your well-being cue. And this is one of my favorites. How do we raise our love cue? Wow, great conversation. I love all of the new thinking, new skills, new hope that Dr. Hunter gave us today. Really blessed to be able to feel like I have the power to win my life, to be empowered, to make some changes that are important to me. And love, love, love our conversation about anchoring in our heart. Really, what matters physically to our heart, emotionally, what happens with our heart. And it matters. We are, as humans, we need to connect, we need to feel love, we need to be physical, we need to kind of eat, drink, and be merry. So in a really positive way. So Dr. Hunter, thank you so much for the gift of joining our team and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Carlette. I enjoyed it so much, and can't wait to continue the conversation.
So team, it's up to you. Go out and win your well-being. Start to really be intentional and think about what's going on in my life, physically, emotionally, my relationships, my sleep, what I'm eating, what I'm drinking. Is it working for you? Is it a 10 for you? Is it giving you the result that you want? Well, we are for you, and we look forward to being able to coach you up and be on your support team as you win your well-being.